The words of Vedanta reveal our true nature. Since the self cannot be known as an object of knowledge, it has to be revealed by subtle and indicative methods. The language used in the Vedas is therefore mystical. The language used in the Vedas really mystical. The teacher adopts a method best suited for the student he teaches. He understands the mind of the student and lifts him up. Gradually, to the highest truth, it is to be noted that the Guru can only indicate the truth. The student has to lift his mind by himself. Uddharet atmanatmanam. Therefore, Vedanta, as revealed by the Guru, is the means of self-realization. If you were to read the Vedas independently, you know what can happen. One would get hopelessly lost and confused. One would not be able to resolve the apparent contradictions and would either conclude wrongly or give up thinking that it is too difficult or illogical. Truly speaking, it happened to my life also. From my childhood, I am learning we should read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita. And when in my college days, I started studying Gita, and my conclusion was the most hopeless book. All irrelevant talking and everything else. That is the role of Guru or Acharya in our life. Now I can't think anything else apart from Gita. Gita is my every breath. But when I studied by my own, really speaking, that was my conclusion. When the student listens, especially a qualified one, the student, qualified student means sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, the student who is imbibed with the fourfold spiritual practice prescribed by the scripture and the Guru, and when that qualified student listens to the words of Sadguru or a bona fide master who is well versed in scriptures, that Guru who is Srotriya and well established in truth, means Brahmanishta, then that student realizes the truth. The student realizes that the self in him is the self in all. Madatma sarva bhuta. that all is truth alone. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. That I am the infinite reality. Aham Brahma Asmi. Such a person is called a Jivanmukta. Means one liberated, one while living. So we are naturally interested in knowing more about such a mind-blowing state and about one who revels in that state. So student naturally asked the question, Nanu Jivanmukta kaha? Nanu Jivanmukta kaha? Nanu means then. Whenever any question word comes, Nanu is the keyword. Means question is coming. Jivanmukta, one liberated while living. Kaha, who? Then who is the one liberated while living? Guru is replying, Yatha dehoham, means Yatha dehaha aham, Purushaha aham, Brahmanaha aham, Shudraha aham, Asmi iti, Dridha nishchayaha, Tatha naham Brahmanaha, na Shudraha, na Purushaha, Kintu asangaha Satchidananda Swarupaha Prakasharupaha Sarvantaryami Chidakasharupaha Asmi iti Dridha Nishchayarupaha Aparoksha Jnanavan Jivanmuktaha. Once again I will chant it. Yatha deha aham Purushaha aham Brahmanaha aham Shudraha aham Asmi iti Dridha nishchayaha Tatha naham Brahmanaha na aham Brahmanaha na Shudraha na Purushaha Kintu asangaha Satchidananda Swarupaha Prakasharupaha Sarvantaryami Chidakasharupaha Asmi iti Dridha Nishchayarupaha Aparoksha Jnanavan Jivanmuktaha. If you understand a little bit of Sanskrit, it's very easy. Yatha, just as deha aham, aham deha, I am the body, aham purushaha, I am a man, aham brahmanaha, I am a brahmana, brahmin, not brahma, huh? For the Western student. Brahmin is the highest caste. As in your West, there is racism. In the East, there was still somewhere the casteism is there, and Brahmin belongs to the highest state of caste. Aham Sudraha Asmi, I am a Sudra, means the inferior caste amongst the human being. Iti, thus, Dridha Nishchaya, firm belief I am having right now that I am body, I am a man, I am a Brahmin, or I am the lower caste or upper caste, that firm belief I am having about this body. Likewise, tatha, in the same way, aham na brahmanaha, I am not a Brahmin. Aham na Shudraha, I am not a Sudra. Aham na Purushaha, I am not a man. Kintu, but Aham Asangaha, I am unattached. Aham Satchidananda Swarupaha, I am of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. Aham Prakasha Rupaha, I am self-effulgent. Aham Sarvantarayami, I am the indweller of all. Aham Chidakasha Rupaha Asmi, I am the formless awareness. Iti, thus, Dridha Nishchayaha, firm determination. Aparoksha Jnanavan, one with immediate knowledge. Jivanmukta, one liberated while living. So, the translation in the prose order, if we do, the student asked, then who is the Jivanmukta, or who is that one who is liberated while living? The ever compassionate teacher is replying, just as we have formed belief that I am the body, I am a man, I am a upper caste person, I am white, or I am a Shudra or lower class, or I am black, I am inferior. In the same way, one who by his immediate knowledge or aparoksha jnana has firmly ascertained that I am not a Brahmin, upper class person, or white, or nor I am a Sudra, or lower class, or black, or I am not a man, not a woman, but I am unattached and of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss, and self-effulgent, the indweller of all and the formless awareness is the liberated while living, or Jivanmukta. One day, one man was very thirsty and he wanted to have a drink at one of these lakes. But when he approached the lake, it vanished. Immediately, with a blow came into his brain that idea that this was a mirage about which he read all his life. And then he remembered and smiled at his folly, or at his folly, sorry. That for the last month, all the beautiful landscapes and lakes he had been seeing were this mirage or mirage, but he could not distinguish them then. The next morning he again began his march. There was the lake and the landscape, but with it immediately came the idea, this is a mirage. Once known mirage, Marichika, what is found in the desert. It appears as lake, but it is actually the refraction of the light, and it appears as water, flow of water. People who live in Rajasthan, they know very well about it. Once known, it has lost its power of illusion. So this illusion of the universe will break one day. The whole of this will vanish melt away. And this is called realization. Philosophy is no joke or talk. It has to be realized. This body will vanish. This earth and everything will vanish. This idea that I am the body or mind will for some time vanish, or if the karma is ended, it will disappear, never to come back. But if one part of the karma remains, then as a potter's wheel, after the potter has finished the pot, have you seen the potter is making a pot with using the wheel, and it makes some pot and everything else. When the pot is made, yet the wheel remains with the momentum. In Sanskrit, it is called gati jadya. So, we'll sometimes go on from the past momentum. So this body, when the delusion has vanished altogether, will go on for some time. Again, this world will come. Men and women and animals will come. Just as the mirage came the next day, but not with the same force. Along with it will come the idea that I know its nature now, and it will cause no bondage, no more pain, no grief, no misery, no confusion, no doubt, no depression, no anxiety. Whenever anything miserable will come, the mind will be able to say, I know you as hallucination. I know you as hallucination. When a man has reached that state, he is called Jivanmukta. Living free. Free even while living. The aim and end in this life for the Jnana Yogi is to become this Jivan Mukta, living free. He is a Jivan Mukta who can live in this world without being attached. He is like the lotus leaves in water, which are never wetted by the water. He is the highest of human beings, the highest of all beings, for he has realized his identity with the Absolute. He has realized that he is one with God. So long as you think you have the least difference from God, fear will seize you. But when you have known that you are He, that there is no difference, entirely no difference, that you are He, you are the God, all of Him, and the whole of Him, all fear ceases. There, who sees whom? Who worships whom? Who talks to whom? Who hears whom? Where one sees another, where one talks to another, where one hears another, that is little. Where none sees none, where none speaks to none, that is the highest. That is the great. That is the Brahman. Being that, You are always that. What will become of the world then? What good shall we do to the world? Such questions do not arise. What becomes of my gingerbread if I become old? Says the baby. What becomes of my marbles if I grow? So I will not grow, says the boy. What will become of my dolls if I grow old? Says the little child. It is the same question in connection with this world. It has no existence in the past, present, or future. If we have known the Atman as it is, if we have known that there is nothing else but this Atma, that everything else is but a dream with no existence in reality, then this world with its poverties, its miseries, its wickedness and its goodness will cease to disturb us. If they do not exist, for whom and for what shall we take trouble? This is what the Jnana Yogis teach. Therefore, dare to be free. Dare to go as far as your thought leads, and dare to carry that out in your life. That should be the way of our life. In the beginning of this chapter, we have discussed the positive and negative views about Jivanmukta. He who has attained this knowledge of Brahman is a Jivanmukta, liberated while living in the body. He rightly understands that the Atman and the body are two separate things. After realizing God, one does not identify the Atma with the body. That is the beauty. Now, a little more detail over there. That presently for us, the knowledge that I am a human being, moreover a man or woman, is natural and effortless. I get up each morning with this thought and sleep with it. It will remain with me till I die. It is not merely a thought. All actions too are based on this notion. Further, it is not a conscious thought. I do not have to meditate or repeat, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a man, I am a woman each morning. I do not need anyone to remind me that I am a man or I am a woman. I do not even have to remind myself. This knowledge is firmly rooted in me, and despite being told and intellectually convinced that I am not the body, I still conduct my life with the knowledge I am a man or I am a woman. When the knowledge I am not the body, I am not the mind, but I am pure, infinite awareness becomes firmly rooted and effortless, a person is called one liberated while living, or Jivanmukta. He need not meditate or remind himself about his true nature. This knowledge stays with him under all circumstances, even at the time of death of the body. He knows that he is the immortal self. He may even appear to be very ordinary, but his vision is quite the opposite of the ignorant man. The ignorant person takes himself to be the finite, transmigrating individual and the world to be real. The liberated one knows himself to be the infinite self and the world to be unreal. Now, some analysis of some particular Sanskrit word or terminology. That asanga means the self being different from the three bodies, cross body, subtle body, and causal body, and different from the three states, awakened state or awake state, dream state, and deep sleep state, and totally unaffected by them. So too, the liberated one is unattached to them and the world. Remaining unattached, he moves like the wind. Akasha Vayuvat Charit. Now, Satchidananda Swarupa means the self is ever existent, the witness of all and infinite. The liberated one, therefore, has no fear of death, no sufferings from no finite things, and no sense of limitations within. Now, Prakasha Swarupa means the self is the knowledge principle that illumines all thoughts, the life principle that enlivens all beings. Then Sarvantaryami. Antaryami means Antaryamayati iti Antaryami, who indwells, who resides inside and control everything else residing inside us. He or she is Antaryami. Here Sarvantaryami, Sarvantaryami. The liberated one knows that the self in me is the self in all. He or she therefore loves all his own self. The love inside of a detached person is unimaginable. An attached person can't think of it, can't fathom the love of a detached person. Because attached person love is only for his attached thing. And it is very, very limited, very, very finite. But the love of a detached person or an unattached person is enormous, infinite. Love for all, love for everything. Tulsidas ji says, Siya Ram mais sab jag jani, karau pranam jori jug pani. knowing that the entire world is pervaded by my Lord Sri Ram. With folded hands I prostrate to all. Now the word Chidakasha is Chit Akasha. Chit means chitta, inside, the space inside. The space is actually all pervading. Suppose we falsely say sometimes, how much space in your room? Just think the space of the room or room space and the entire space is different. Suppose you have a tumbler or cup, it is empty. The space inside the cup and space outside the cup is different. Is Ghatakasha and Mahakasha are different? Of course not. Space is sama, is all pervading and equal in everywhere. The self pervades even space. It is beyond space. I'm talking about Atma. Because the Atma or Brahman is the very illuminator of this concept of space. Now knowledge is of three types. One is Pratyaksha Jnanam, direct knowledge. It is that which is known directly by our sense organs. For example, I see the book, you see the wall, you see me, you hear my voice, you smell the fragrance of the flower, you taste the sweetness of the milk. It is direct perceptions by our sense organs. Then there is another knowledge is called Paroksha Jnanam, indirect knowledge. It is that which is gained by hearing from others or reading. It is knowledge of an object far away that is not in the reach of the senses. Direct knowledge can become indirect knowledge and vice versa. For example, I had never seen, suppose I had never seen the Statue of Liberty, but had heard of it. Now I am seeing it. My home is now far away and I do not perceive it. But it is there. And the third kind of knowledge is aparoksha jnana, the immediate knowledge. It is that which is neither direct nor indirect, as it is not of an object which is either near or far. The knowledge of subject, I, is always immediate. Just think of the night. अमावस्या की रात है और जंगल में, गहरे जंगल में भटक रहे हो. खुद का साया तो छोड़ो, हाथ पैर भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है. think about that night of no moons, when you are roaming in the dense forest, where there is no question of my shadow. I can't even see my hands, my fingers. Any time have you felt that you are not? Always we are aware about I am, I am, I am, I am. No means of knowledge like the senses and mind are needed to know myself. We all know I am, but we do not know our true nature. Our true nature is our inherent nature. That aparoksha jnanam is inherent. And all other knowledge is incidental. The liberated one knows who he is in his true nature. His knowledge is not merely an intellectual concept, but an immediate experience. I am infinite self, or I am the truth. The state of Jivanmukta cannot be explained. The characteristics of a person who is liberated in life have been discussed in diverse ways by our scripture. The Bhagavata speaks of such a state. Vivek Chudamani, slok number 540 or 541, says, persons who have had their lives' purpose fulfilled by the realization of the self roam about in the world in strange attires, some with ordinary clothes, some clad in barks of trees, still others with the points of the compass as their dress, that means stark naked. Some like madmen, some like boys free from the slightest tinge of lust and greed, and still others like ghouls or something like that. So, the explanation of Jivanmukti given in Tattva Bodha is simple yet gripping, just as an ignorant person has attachment for his body and mind. The person of self-knowledge will have attachment for his self or Brahman. Just as an ignorant person thinks he is a Brahmana or a man or a woman, the enlightened soul thinks that he is not a Brahmana, not a man, not a woman, not the body, not the mind, and so on. This firm conviction comes after the attainment of knowledge. There is one text called Suta Samhita. Suta Samhita. Their verse number 24 and 25 says, he who knows that the whole universe has been projected in me through Maya becomes Ativarnasrami. We know Varnasrama. But who is the person of realization? He becomes Ativarnasrami, beyond a Varnasrama, one who has transcended the 4 stages of life. Chaturvarnamaya srishtam guna karma vibhagasa. Bhagavan is telling. I have created that 4 varnas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. Why? In accordance with the guna, quality, and karma, the work he adopts or she adopts. But a realized person has no work. He is established in Naishkarmya. That is why he is Ativarnasrami. Panchadashi. In Panchadashi, 7th chapter, 85 number slokas says, the difference between Jiva and Brahman is due to the presence or the absence of the conditioning medium of the inner organ or antahkarana, which is the mind, intellect, etc. Otherwise, the two are identical. The only difference in God and a normal human being is conditioning only, upadhi. But essentially, both are same. What happens when one attains self-knowledge is told beautifully in the same word? Means 1st chapter, Panchadashi, 1st chapter, 64th sloka says, the direct realization of the knowledge of the self obtained from the Guru's teaching is like the scorching sun that dispels the darkness of ignorance, which is the root of misery and rebirth. But for a few Advaitic scholars, almost all are agreed about Jivanmukti. Swami Vidyaranya Muniji, a saint of the 14th century, has written a book on this subject. The title is Jivanmukti Viveka. It's a heavy text, Guru Grantha. In this great work, the author deals with all the points one has to think of about the question. Vidyaranya Muniji quotes authorities on the subject profusely and discuss the proofs of the existence of Jivanmukti. He then discusses the aspect of prarabdha karma. That karma which has begun to fructify, which we shall discuss soon. The next topic of discussion is the mind, whether the mind dissolves or remains after the attainment of liberation. The next consideration of Vidyaranyaji is the uses of the idea of Jivanmukti. Finally, post-Jivanmukti situation is discussed. He or she who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. One who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.1. Yesterday also I quoted the same. He is the best example of the state attained by the knower of Brahman. Such an individual transcends all limitations, all dualities, and all sorrows, all anxieties, all doubts, all depressions. This is the blessed or blessed state we all should have been in. But the world is so much in us that it entangles us unnecessarily to Maya. Hari Om Tat Sat.